Hi guys, you may have watched my accent video that I posted a couple of weeks ago. In that I explained that I didn't have time then to fully explain to you what the accent method is and give you some pointers on how to get into it. So here's a video for you to help you with that. What I want to start by doing is giving you a really basic explanation of how the voice works, because this really is quite important to understand why we might do the accent method and a little bit of how it developed. So very simply, air passes up through the larynx, the vocal folds, otherwise known as vocal cords, but we call them folds now. The vocal folds vibrate, we get a sound, it resonates, and there's our voice. That's basically it. There is of course an awful lot that goes on neurologically to actually make that happen, but we perhaps don't need to be as concerned about that. Let's focus on the mechanics. So what's happening when we actually breathe in? Well, we're getting a signal from the brain to say, you need to take a breath in now. Our diaphragm, which is a very large dome-shaped muscle that sits just underneath the rib cage, gets a signal that we need to breathe in, so that contracts downwards. It creates a vacuum, pulling the air into the lungs. When we breathe out, that rises and we have our breath coming out. So that's a really important piece of information there. So basically what we're saying is there's a big muscle here that goes downwards to let us breathe in. So when we do that, more space is created here in the rib cage in order to allow the lungs to inflate. That also is going to make the belly push out slightly. Now, that's not us actively going, I'm going to push my belly out. It's just a natural process that pushes down, so the belly will gently inflate, it may appear. It doesn't, obviously, lungs are up here, but you know. So that means then that if the tummy is really tight, it's going to be really hard for me to take a breath in. So you can try that for me now. So let's all tighten up our tummies as tight as you can. Now try and take a breath in. You're going to feel incredibly restricted there. We just cannot, the diaphragm's got nowhere to go, so we can't take a full breath in. So what's likely to happen? Well, there's the other way that we could take a breath in. We can incorporate lots of muscles up here in the upper chest, and we can take a breath there. Again, you can probably hear in my voice, that's not great. There's so much musculature up here that's actually involved in suspending the larynx that if I'm using that to breathe in, that's putting in a lot of unnecessary tension and pressure around that area that we don't need. So what we're really saying here is, for efficient singing, we need to work with what the body will naturally do and not against it. So naturally, we walk around all day, hopefully breathing, a little bit worrying if we're not. We could call that passive inspiration, so we just don't think about it. It's so important. Our brain cannot afford to let us think about it. So passive respiration, we do it all day. We're not jamming up the tummy. You know, if you're very stressed perhaps, you might feel tension there. It might feel difficult to breathe, and you know, maybe if we could let that belly go a little bit, it might feel an awful lot better. So passive respiration, well, that's not what we do when we sing. We are far more active when we sing. So let's think of our active respiration now, or our singing breath. So when we sing, we're going to incorporate actively a lot more of those tummy muscles. So let's just go back to the thought that we had before, that when we breathe in, I need those tummy muscles to be relaxed, because if they're not, it's going to be really hard for me to get that breath in. So when I'm breathing in, it's like I'm just going to let everything hang out. That belly's just going to be nice and loose and flop down. That is a lot easier than said than done. It might sound like an easy thing to release a muscle. It is actually effortful, and it's not something in that area of the body that we particularly enjoy doing. So you might find that quite difficult to start with, but it's so worth persevering with this. So breathing in, we've got nice loose tummy muscles. If I want to actively breathe out, I'm going to be employing those tummy muscles. And I want to be thinking about really, really low tummy muscles, so right up from the pelvic floor, almost like I'm zipping up a pair of skinny jeans. If you try that without really much thought, breathe in with me, and then blow the air out as forcefully as you can, you will find that you will engage the right muscles. If you start thinking about it, you may not. So let's just take a few breaths, just that breathing in, and just feel what's happening there. So hopefully now you've done that forceful breath out, those tummy muscles are nice and tight. Now if you just let them go, you're going to breathe in and you're not even going to think about it. Let's do that again. And let go. Okay, so that is basically the process that the accent method is built on. That's it. It's about having flexibility in the tummy. It's about going through those patterns that you hopefully have already done in order to build that flexibility. It's about the breath in feeling very natural and very easy. You know, if you really do practice accent method, I was a singer for an awful long time before this really started to be used and it came into my singing practice. And it was a revelation, because suddenly things that felt very, very difficult were easy. You know, singing should feel easy. It's a natural process. It's something that we're born to do. And if it feels like hard work, then possibly something is not right. Anyway, let's now look at some ways that we can just find ourselves getting into the accent method. So if I was going to work with a student, I would be starting this on the floor. What we're going to do first of all is lie down on our backs. So here we are laying on our backs. I've got my legs bent. Ideally, I would be looking straight up to the ceiling, and I would have checked in that my neck is in a nice line. If it's not and it kind of bent like this, what I would probably do for a student is put a book underneath. So very, very small amount of support sometimes is needed here. So, because I'm talking to you, I'm going to look this way. Okay, so we're going to pop our hands on the lower part of our tummy. So always thinking below the belly button with this is a really, really good way to make sure that you're looking at the right muscles. So I've got my legs bent, my pelvis is nice and neutral, so I'm really just letting myself sink into the floor. You can check in with the shoulders, make sure they're in contact with the floor. I wouldn't want them there. Just nicely drawn down into the back. Little bit of a gap here in the spine, nice neutral pelvis, and we're in a good position. So let's do what we did sitting up in this position. So we'll breathe in and we'll do our forceful exhale. And let's do that one more time. So let those tummy muscles go and breathe out. So hopefully in this position, we've got gravity on our side here. It's nice and easy to really engage those very low pelvic floor muscles and the transverse abdominis. So really deep core muscles that we're working on here. While in this position, we can kind of really zone in, because I'm not having to hold myself up in space here. I've got myself completely and utterly relaxed on the floor, so I can really focus on the muscles that I'm actually working. So we're going to go through some of our sounds now. So let's do a... And as I do that, I'm gently engaging those pelvic floor muscles. Let's breathe in again. And let's try a different sound now. We'll do shh and shh. And one more sound, a hissing sound. And And this should feel easy. It should feel really, really, really easy to do this. We're just going to go through those sounds again in a slightly more formal pattern. So we're just working beats of 4. So let's breathe in together. And let that release. And gentle release on those muscles. Let's go through those sounds again. Gentle release. Release those muscles and relax there. Hopefully you felt a gentle sense of engagement there. What we're going to do now is we're going to put the voice onto those sounds. So when we do this, we want to try and think about those sounds continuing to be really breathy, really airy. That is our main focus here. The pitch will stay very low. It's almost like we're massaging the voice. Okay, so let's just check in with what those sounds are going to be like. So the is going to become, the sh is going to become sh, and the s will become z. So the setup here is exactly the same, it's just that we're putting the voice onto those sounds. Let's go through in exactly the same way that we just did. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. And let's go through it once again. So I'm hoping that you can see a little bit of the natural rise and fall of my tummy. So when I'm breathing in, there's that very, very gentle expansion there. I'm not forcing it out. It could. That would actually be really quite tense. It's a natural expansion because my diaphragm is coming down. That's all. And then when I'm breathing out, there's that natural contraction of those muscles. Okay, so let's just take this a little bit further now and think of some pulses. So this is really where we start to get that elasticity built into these muscles. So we're going to breathe in the same way, and then we're just going to go. Now I'm hoping you can see this. I'm just going to use my hand here. Can you see that very, very small bounce on my tummy? So I've got a tiny release in between that pulse. That surge in pitch that you can hear is only caused by me pressurizing and releasing the air. Okay. We're going to keep one hand there to check in with those muscles, make sure they're doing what they're told. I'm going to use this hand up here just to keep that going. I might click as well. I can do another hand, but never mind. What I want you to really try and feel is that these muscles are able to move. When you first start doing this, it really does feel quite jerky, for want of a better description. It feels a little bit mechanical in the tummy. If you keep practicing this, it will reach the point where it's very, very elastic and feels really, really comfortable to do. So let's try a few of those in this position. So and again. Hopefully you're feeling a gentle sense of engagement here. we're going to take that a little bit further now, and we'll just do 4 even pulses. So just take a release. So we're surging each time there. Let's go through that once again. And let those muscles go. Feel that release once more. And relax down. Okay, so that's the first stage of our process. So if you're struggling with this is where you want to stay until it feels, if not easy, at least doable. This should feel comfortable. There shouldn't be any tension in the voice. There shouldn't be any unnecessary tension in the body. You should be like totally relaxed when you do this. If you're not, something is probably not working in the right way. Keep practicing, or go see a person who will actually teach you to do this in the flesh and be able to correct you. We are now going to roll onto our side. So I've got my knees on top of each other. I've got them slightly forward so I can keep my pelvis nice and neutral. I'm not letting myself flop waist-wise onto the floor. I'm just putting a bit of length up here so that the body's not collapsed. Now you can lie sideline like this, you can do that, you could pop a book under your head. We don't want the neck completely unsupported because it's not going to be very comfortable, but I'll find a good position. Okay, that will do for me. So now we're side lying, this is going to feel a little bit more difficult to do. We haven't got so much gravity on the side now. We're going to have to work a little bit harder to engage those muscles. So let's just go through the same process that we've just done. So those long 4 counts first. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And let that go. Might feel a bit harder. Let that release. And let that go. So you might notice already that feels a little bit more difficult to do. Just gravity. Try and keep everything as relaxed as you can in those places where we don't need to be working. And really put the mind into those muscles. It should never feel locked out. We're not working at 100% here. It's a gentle sense of kind of rolling, if you like. I've always quite liked the zipping up a skinny pair of jeans. That really works for me. It might not work for you, but whatever does. It's like a tide of thing. We're engaging, releasing, engaging, releasing. Let's try those 4 even pulses now. So I'll pop myself back down. Just let that release now. Let that muscle go. Letting that go. Let's go again. Let that muscle flop down. Let the release once more. And let that go. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some thoughts about how to get into the accent method. Any questions? Do let me know, that would be fun. If you now go into the accent method warm-up, it should make more sense now if this is something you've not done before. I do hope it does, but let me know if not. Thank you very much for watching. See you again. Bye.